when you ask for peace of mind, He's going to put you through the most difficult moments, of your life. And when you can find peace of mind inside a tornado, like what can disturb you after that? Okay, so welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to be speaking about whether we created God or did God create us. So to my left, I've got Herd.
Katani.
And I'm dooming.
Yeah, and to my right, guest for today's episode, I'm Pumulo. Welcome, Pumulo. Okay, so yeah, as I said, today's topic: did we create God or did God create us?
So there's this notion, right, that as like people who believe in God, the biblical God, Christians will believe that God created us, but there's a notion that we could have created God in the sense that there's just things that like we don't understand. So for example, we don't get how the sky got to be the sky, right? We asked ourselves the questions, oh, how did that get there? And nobody could give an answer. And then people then said, God created it. So just to answer the questions that we could not answer scientifically or by ourselves, we create this being. Just for it to make sense.
Makes sense.
We create this being that, okay, maybe this, What do you guys think about that?
I think it's about science and religion, I think. Because science is an explanation of who made it. How the sky came to be the sky and came to be the sky. Or the whole Big Bang, whatever. But then religion puts all the power into one supernatural being, or two or 10, supernatural beings that created the whole heaven and earth and wind and whatever else we see in nature and everything. So, yeah, I think it's a debate about science and religion.
What do you think about it?
Yeah. Just on the aspect of, to say like, having all these questions and then someone just saying like, there's this person or being that's upstairs that said, this is just going to be what it is. There's that chat, and I think like on the chat itself, like it's a big chat in the sense of someone might feel like, but that doesn't answer me though, because that's when some people say like science is an explanation type thing. Someone will be like, but religion, dude, is just saying, you're just giving me an excuse. Like you're just giving me I have this question from like 5A up to 5G, for example, and for every answer you're just saying God, which is usually the case. So like, that's on that point of view. I think that's usually the chat, and it's a pretty important and big chat.
Because I think like take it closer to home. Personally, I've questioned myself like, okay, I'm wearing this, right? And
I'm not wearing my glasses.
Okay. We'll just say brown, right? But who made it brown? Like who called it brown?
Yeah.
It's called brown because that's what I've been told. That's what I've been told. So that's what I've grown up knowing. And
I think that's actually the case for a lot of people that were born into Christianity. We were. It's kind of like, it's like being born into a culture, a tradition. It's not something you learned by yourself. It's not something you made sense of by yourself. It's just something you grew up into, and that was just the norm, and that's what you just continued with. But it's not like you actually have a basis as to why you are a Christian. It's not true for most Christians.
Yeah.
Taking from a like Christian point of view, there are people that will then say, you know what, yeah, I grew up in a Christian home, but then I then had like personal encounters with God, and I believe is there, but for some, it's just, yo, my parents are Christian, we went to church every Sunday, and I go to church every Sunday.
Christian.
But I think it doesn't only end in Christianity. It's true for all religions. Like,
Mm.
imagine if I was born in like the Middle East, bro, or if I was born in like Bangladesh or those countries, I would be Muslim.
Yeah.
If I was born in like China, I would be probably Buddhist or something,
Yes.
And it's not even because I believe like out of myself, like I brought myself out and went to find out which is which, and then I started believing like I'm now Buddhist or whatever, It's just because my parents were Buddhist or my parents were Muslim or whoever was around me was that same religion, Whoever was around me was eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. I was also eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's not like I
But you
felt
don't know if
hungry
you
in the
eat
morning when I
breakfast.
woke up. Yeah. Exactly.
So, question, guys.
Yeah.
Do you all believe in God?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe everyone here does.
All right. Okay. So, do you feel like if you weren't born into Christianity, because like some of you have said it's more or less of something you were born into,
Yeah.
do you believe that you guys would be religious?
So I was gonna actually get into that after hearing people's point of views. So there are people I know who weren't Christians, but they found themselves to religion, and I guess you could say, why is that? So could that mean that is what created the world? Like, like how do you find yourself coming to religion? And there are people who've been born into Christianity. They've fallen off thinking, I think we've all had a moment where we've had lack of faith, and you're like, no, I just grew up knowing that. I just always woke up all my Sunday best, went to church. So I don't think it's real. I've been doing fine. You don't pray, you don't read the Bible. 1 week goes by, like, I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I'm fine. And then you find yourself going through something, or something happens, but it doesn't happen as worse as it could be. And you have this feeling inside you, and that could have been way worse. Something's protecting me. Like, you can feel it. I'm at least speaking from a personal point of view, and also freely. So like, it's not just biased. And there's something higher. You didn't just wake up.
Alright, so my question for you is that if you didn't believe in God, what or who would you believe in?
That's something I'll
Myself.
never get to know. So, that's something I'll actually.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Your question is asking like God in the Christian sense, or like God as like a higher power.
You guys said you all believe in God.
Yeah.
I mean, which God? Like
Oh no,
the
so the
Muslim
God
God,
you
the
believe
Christian God, the
Just I think like the fact that like there's a
superior
Supreme.
being,
Yeah.
like
or in a
that
superior.
fact.
All right.
Okay.
So if you didn't believe in him, her, whichever one each of you believe in, what or who would you believe in?
Money.
I believe in myself. I mean, I believe in myself now.
So you
But-
believe that you created yourself?
Yes.
Would you be fine with that? With knowing
If
that
I was,
just
suppose
found
if I
God?
didn't believe in anything else, yes. I say this because I only believe in myself because I believe in God. So because I have God, I know, I can do that. I can, because he's on my side. So taking him away from my side just means that because I believe in God, then I believe in me. So taking him away is just then I believe in me. Yeah.
I think like myself, I'll just take from the time I wasn't believing in God, and looking back on that, I would say I would be, if I wasn't believing in God, I would probably believe in not one singular thing, not one singular thing to say like just that. Probably a bunch of different things for different situations. But a part of me feels like I would still believe in some higher power some way. That may not be specifically God per se. Yeah.
Like on Pumulo's point, how he said on the time like being away from God. So that opened my mind. Like in my personal experience, I wouldn't believe in anything. Like I felt like I was just living life. Like it could be fun or cool, but there was no purpose to it. I'm just the second in a million second. So it was just whatever you do doesn't matter. So I don't know if there is even meaning to life without that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have a question though for Kumolo. Well, no, were you born a Christian? Were you born into Christianity?
Yeah.
Okay, but Kumolo, you mentioned that there was a time that you didn't.
Yeah, no, because my family isn't Christian. My family members aren't. They know that there's God. So the case of Christianity wasn't in my family, my immediate family per se, people I grew up with.
Okay.
My mom, for example. So it's not a case of mom and dad said, let's go to church on Sunday. It was yes, someone came and said, oh, let's go to church. You know about church, like from school or whatever. And you're like, okay, let's go. But it wasn't like the rent said, let's dip.
So before that, what was your basis of the origin of creation?
Well, quite frankly, at that time I was a kid, so I
didn't cross your
you know,
mind
like
at all.
I don't know about you guys. I used to watch like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
And like like when there was a baby being born, like it was carried by those birds. What were they?
I never watched cartoons.
Stork? Yeah. No? Stork. Yeah, video. Yeah. I used to actually think I came back. I was like, wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. Give it. Thank you.
And for me, I would believe in nature, things that I see. I mean, they say, wait, do they say that?
What?
We don't even know.
No, I mean, they say like believing is seeing, is it?
Oh, yes.
I guess, yeah. So I would ride with that, whatever I see and I know can happen, which is nature, Like if I go on top of the house and I jump, I'll fall and it will be like painful for me, I'll probably break a few bones of my ribs or even die, That one I would believe it will happen because I know for sure it will happen because it's been happening in history, I mean, I was only born like, like yesterday, So there has been occasions of people doing things and seeing the results, Like if you lie to your parents and they find out, they're gonna hit you hard, If you do this, this will happen. That's like the order of the day. That's what I would believe.
Okay, alright, so another quick question for you guys is, if you guys found out there was no heaven today, would you change the way you were living?
So there's this video I came across this one day, and basically a man was trying to save a snake from a fire.
Why?
There, I don't know, man. There, I don't know.
Not important.
But basically, the snake bit him. He's like, yo, man, I'm trying to save you. So what he did is he got a stick and he saved the snake. And someone said, the snake bit you, but you still saved it. Why did you save it? And he said, that is my character. That is who I am. You feel? So like, no matter whether there's good or bad rewards or no rewards, how I act is just a state of who I am. So to answer your question, well, for me personally, I'm nice to you because I want to be nice to you. If I do something for you, I'm not doing it for you to pay me back or do the same thing back. I wouldn't change. Yeah.
I think for myself that I would do the same thing. I wouldn't change because, like, when I think of the reasons why I would believe, why I believe in God, and like what comes with that, right? Like, let's say, for example, the moral compass, etc., and values, all that stuff. I'm like, that's pretty good stuff. So I'll still stick with that because also I can't imagine like whenever life with like without that, because I'm like, shucks, that looks pretty bad.
Yeah. No, literally, like what I was saying, like when I had my differences with my spiritual side, I really found life like really good. Really, like I was just like a blimp, just there. Yeah. And what
I don't
about you
think-
guys? Would you guys change?
I don't think I would change because right now there's some things I do, some decisions I make that, like in the moment, I forget there's heaven. After I'm like, shucks, bro. You know where you going after that? So I don't think I would change. Because right now, to be honest, I would not fully say I live my life to make it to heaven. That sounds so bad. It's not that like I'm living my life to make it to hell, but it's one of those, it's not like in my head. Like I don't wake up every day and like, okay, I'm gonna do this and this because heaven is the goal. I would be lying. I literally just go with my life, and then yeah, after the moment or in moments of retrospection, I'm there like, but Sissy, don't do that one again. Don't,
When you say like you don't do it with heaven, like that whole statement of heaven as a goal, do you mean like you don't wake up every day to say like I just want to do this so that I make it to heaven
Yeah.
and not go there? Or do you mean or would you say like you're saying I just want to put heaven in a box to say all my life is just God is just about going to heaven or not going to hell? Is it the first one or the second?
It's both.
It's a bit of both.
Because for me, my belief in God is not about making it to heaven. It's about who God has been right now.
Okay.
That's it. So I don't put heaven as like this whole thing. I think that sometimes in my life right now, I'm already experiencing a bit of heaven because like God shows up a lot. So it's not one of those that I like. How do I put it? It's not a thing of I can't wait for it because I know it's so much better than what I have now. But it's one of those I can already feel God now. So so it's not one of those like yeah.
Fighting yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So like, okay, cool. So like
Wait,
everyone here is
he
really
didn't.
Alright.
yeah.
For me, I mean, for me, I'm kind of weird. Okay, so bear with me. For me, I am at a stage where I am trying to learn as much as I can, about life itself. Yeah, like the meaning of life, like real meaning of life, not like what I do every day and shit. That one I can do, but I want to understand like what does my life mean? Like what does it mean for me to get up every day and be alive, and the world is presented to me, and then I'm supposed to live, right? So the thing is, for me, about the going to heaven issue, for me, it kind of appears to me like people are trying to escape pain. Like they don't want to go to hell because it's written that hell is going to be a sea of whatever,
Like a
So-
fire.
Fire.
yeah, fire, burning, eternal
Pain.
damnation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like pain. Nothing good is coming from there.
Yeah.
So from me, it kind of seems like everyone is trying to avoid it. Like when I die, I don't want to be found going into that place, for eternity and things like that. So people want the good stuff. And from what I heard, actually, I was meaning to ask both of you a question, because from what I heard the two of you speaking, it sounds like when you say God, you're referring to good stuff. Like you said, sometime, Daryl, you said like there are times in your life when you came to believe that some higher power was behind whatever happened in your life, right?
Yeah.
And I like to believe that something that you experienced was good, right? And also like escaping some danger or whatever, right? And also you, Tsakani, you said, I experienced some kind of heaven here on earth, right? And I'd like to believe it's something good as well. Yeah. So I have a question for both of you because you are associating God with good, like good stuff. Like, let's say you walk out there and then some food panda driver runs you, with his motorbike and you break both of your legs. Would you say that's a God associated thing, or to you, the God associated thing would be, yes, you got ran over, but you survived?
Okay, so to answer your question, I would say yes.
In
Reason
what
being,
way?
so my reasons to when I said good, not everything was like just a blissful moment. No, something bad happened for something better to come. That if that didn't happen, the better wouldn't have come, or you wouldn't have appreciated or
Okay,
been ready
that's-
for the good.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah.
Like, you said something better, which means something more good than whatever was
Happening.
there initially.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're associating that thing with God. So
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
a story about this. There's a story that I had
Mm.
on YouTube, like there was a flood in a certain city, right? And then this flood, like people were given warnings to evacuate and shit. And then some managed to evacuate, but some didn't, right? So there was this guy who managed to evacuate. And after he evacuated, he moved to another city, right? Because he couldn't go back to the city. His property was destroyed and everything. So he moved to another city. And then in that city, he managed to be neighbors with this girl who later on became his wife, Yeah. And they had a really good life together. Like, later on in life, he was actually saying that flood happened for a reason, because if the flood didn't happen, I wouldn't have met you, like this good person. So he was thanking God, like the flood came. But then in the same city, there was actually a sister and a brother who were living together. Both their parents were late. So they only had each other, and they meant to go to each other, So what happened is the brother didn't evacuate and he died, in the flood. And the sister had survived, actually. She was fortunate enough to survive. So the flood to the sister meant a totally different thing compared to the guy, because she was saying, I lost my brother who meant the world to me. He was my world, He was everything that I had. So the same event happened, right? But there were two outcomes. You are saying to put you in this scenario, you will be saying you experienced God because of the flood, you got to meet your wife, right? Who is a good person, who is good into your life. She's so great, she's giving you wonderful kids and everything, and you're living a good life. But to another person, they lost their world, So that's where my question is, like,
Okay.
from what I discovered, people only associate God with something good, that happens in their life, like, this happened to my life, I want to thank God for this. But whenever something bad happens, then God is no longer there.
To answer you, this is okay.
Alright, before Takani answers that, I just want to ask, from all of you just hearing this story that Jimmy has told us, do you think people believe in God out of convenience?
No.
I think so, yes.
That was hard.
For me, I think yes.
Like on that point, I've actually thought about it like myself. That's what made me at one time question my faith. Was like, is it only like when it suits him that I say, oh wow, God. Like what I think Dumi is saying is like, because I can relate it to something good. So I believe God did that. But then like when everything's turning to shit, you're like, oh man, fuck, like, what's happening, But out of convenience, it doesn't convenient. Is that even English? It doesn't convenient to you. It's not convenient to you to actually believe in God, because really I earn nothing. To be honest, I don't know what's ahead of me if I die, if there's heaven or hell. I'm not too worried about that. What I do personally is I do the best I can, but I do pray to Him, if that makes sense.
So your faith is genuine?
My faith is genuine. So whether He's there or not, like, that doesn't bother me. And
so if you lost both your parents today, God forbid.
Yeah.
God's plan.
On
God's plan. Yeah.
on Jimmy's point,
Yeah.
I wanted to say, here's something I've learned about God, and I don't like it. But it's that there's always a reason, right? We never know it, and sometimes, unfortunately, we might never live to see it. In the case of this person that lost her brother, so for the other guy that found a wife, his blessing was immediate. But we all have a different walk. We all have a different purpose. We all have a different plan that God has. So for the one that lost the brother, it's not that God's intent was for her to be in pain or to mourn or to suffer or whatever. The good is always there. I mean, his word even says, whatever the devil meant for evil, he shall turn into good. It's going to become good. We don't know when. We want it to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it might not even happen to you. I'm personally, I have like a bone to pick with the big guy on that, but it's fine. Because
Now we all do.
if something bad happens to me today,
Yeah.
I want my bliss. I mean, guys, my electricity cut the other day in the middle of an assignment. I was just like, Jesus, whatever you're trying to do and the devil's trying to block, may I see it tomorrow. I didn't see it the next day. I still feel like my life is crap. But anyway, the point is, like in a situation like that, like I've had a terrible week. For example, like now, I've had a terrible week. I want to be like, oh no, God, I've been fought so much this week. So by the time this week ends, I want to see what you have in store for me. But that's not how God works. I might not even reap the benefits of all the nonsense I went through this week. It might come for my children or my children's children. But at the end of the day, the
Something
good
will
is
come.
going to come.
'Cause
It's going to
like-
be connected to me somehow, but I might not feel it directly. But it's there.
Because like
this
wait,
is,
like
this
on
is
her
where they
point.
lose me.
Yeah. No, listen,
Yeah.
right?
Religious
So-
people, this is where they lose me.
Just to clear up, so Takani, your faith, your belief in God is not out of convenience.
No, not
Yeah.
at all.
Because like
Yeah.
on her point, right? So like you pray for strength, right? You don't get strength like he's gonna say, +1, +2. Like it's not a game. He's gonna put you through the hardest thing possible. Whether if it's going to the gym, he's gonna make you add an extra weight and be like, let's see if you're gonna lift it or you're gonna chicken out. When you lift it, that's like there's the strength you ask for, When you ask for peace of mind, he's gonna put you through the most difficult moments, of your life. And when you can find peace of mind inside a tornado, like what can disturb you after that,
What do you say? Yeah.
When you pray for love and he gives you a difficult moment and like you can still show love, nothing past that,
Yeah.
So I think it's the thing of understanding. If you can understand, I don't see where you'll go wrong.
I think like that's the issue of convenience. Like some people do. Like it's all about heaven or hell. I just want to do this. But the thing is, like, convenience only goes so far. Because at the end of the day, like if you believe in God based off of convenience, it'll come to a point where you're gonna have to say to yourself, okay, this good has happened. It's gonna be inconsistent, basically. Like, I need God to help me with these exams, whatever, etc. Right? And then after those exams, you go, you have the best time of your life and all that stuff. And then it comes a time where you know that this thing is wrong. You're gonna be like, but it came from like you're let's say for example, I'm gonna use an example that God forbid that this happens to anyone, but it's a bit of a tricky example. But let's say for example you pray for exams, right? Like you pray for exams to succeed, and then you go celebrate. But in your celebration of these exams that you prayed for, so that you do well, you go and you mess up and you decide, I want to rape someone, for example. But you're celebrating. That becomes an inconsistent thing.
Yeah.
The thing that you're praying to God for, you're enjoying it, but doing the thing that you're saying, Jack, God, for now, I don't want this. I want to enjoy myself. So it's kind of that inconsistency with convenience. And like to the thing about like the flood thing, I always try to say, let's bring the two situations to one person. The person who met the wife. Next week, there's another flood. They lose the wife. They said God was there when they met the wife. Now, are they going to say God isn't there now because they lost the wife? It's another thing. So it matches up convenience. Does God appear? Do you put God only in one situation and another? Like your question about good or bad, like, which is a good question. Like, do we only associate God with the good things? Like, people always ask, like, well, what is God there if bad things happen? It's kind of like that thing as well.
Jesus died, guys.
But like,
Jesus
you know what? Like, to like bring you guys to different perspectives. So like, obviously we've talked religiously. What about scientifically? So what? The Earth is flat and the Big Bang?
No.
Sorry, you know about the Earth is flat thing? I saw a tweet, someone saying, we have flat earthers all around the world. Then one is like, please read your tweet again. All around. But go on.
Yeah, no, literally. Yeah, wait, first, you guys think the world is flat?
No. And if you do, get out.
I mean, like, you can like the video first, but like, then you can, fuck off. Basically. Okay, No, so to clarify, so like, scientifically, do you guys believe in the Big Bang, or is there like a possibility that it could be real?
I don't, to be honest, I've never like really studied it, like gone into it like that. But the little bit I know makes sense. And it's one of those, if I wasn't, I mean, as a Christian, it makes sense still. I'm also like, maybe. But like, if I wasn't, I would so be like,
Big Bang.
No, like the Big Bang. We're talking about, no, you think just some magical being just placed the sky and was there? No. Like, okay, it makes more sense. Yeah. I actually, to be honest, like you said, religion aside, I think that has a better explanation. Like the Big Bang, evolution, all of that stuff. I think that has a better explanation to how the world came to be the world.
So I've never actually done any research on the Big Bang theory, right? But from what I'm hearing, they've kind of summed up how life and everything was created. Have they got a lock on how life will end?
Ooh.
No.
Climate change.
But that's now.
Recycle, reduce, reuse. Thank you.
I think like the thing with the Big Bang though, like some people who say jack to it always come back to the thing of it. They basically sum it up to say everything came from nothing, right? So you have two things, like questions to two different like arguments to say like, but this nothing.
Wait, what they say what?
Some people say like the Big Bang is essentially an explosion
that came from nothing.
They say there was energy because you can't create or destroy energy. So there was always energy.
Which is
it didn't come
physically
from nothing.
Like correct.
That makes sense because energy like is neither lost.
It's converted.
So it didn't come from nothing.
So
it came from somewhere.
It came from energy.
So that energy though, so that's the thing, right? Someone will say, okay, it doesn't come from nothing, it comes from energy, right? So the thing is then someone will ask as well, or rather I would ask then like, where does that energy come from? But again, that question is always asked as well to someone who says, talks about God, to say, where did God come from? The thing is now like, I feel like when it comes to the Big Bang, it doesn't, everything is like when it comes to the Big Bang, like there are three things. Like I once listened to this speaker talk about like time, space, matter. Like to say like if something is to be like if you create a laptop, right? The owner who made the laptop is not in the laptop like changing things when you like say I want to open an app, like they're not in there opening it for you.
But wow.
They created, they're sort of outside the thing, right? So it's like they created the thing on some day, that's the time. They created the thing, that's the matter. They created the thing somewhere, that's the space. So it's like the Big Bang though, like when you talk of it in the sense of time, space, and matter. It's like, okay,
Makes no sense.
it's this thing that created the energy, the way in which everything came from. Where is it like this energy is within itself? Because you're saying this energy just
Formed itself, like
created this explosion and on some day, it created the explosion, which is the matter and like what we see now and in this space. But it's like, it's within itself. So how can that be the origins of life? How can that be God, for example?
no, that makes sense.
So yeah, I mean, I've when it comes to the Big Bang, it's like those questions still. Like,
Because you know what, like I've thought about it, right, from another perspective now. So like back to our question, did we create God or did God create us? Personally, I'm Zimbabwean. Right.
I'm
And
not sorry.
I would like to
Joke.
I would like to believe like we were like tribes in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Before like anything got colonized.
Mhm.
So like before that we didn't have churches or God. We were fine.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So did those who colonized us bring God to us? So like it was not like slavery, like a war with guns. It was mental slavery. you
But
know?
which God though? I mean, you're
Yeah.
speaking in the Christian sense. I
Yes,
think.
we
Okay.
did have
Yeah.
a God.
So we did have
Because,
a God.
like-
It was
No.
different.
Those people in China, I mean, they didn't get colonized by Buddhists, right? They were always Buddhists to begin. with.
Okay, yeah.
The people in the Middle East were always I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if
the
they
exact
were.
things. Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
Yeah.
So before we were colonized, we believed in a higher power.
In a higher part, yeah. Okay.
So this begs the question that when we were colonized, how credible is Christianity?
You see.
Ooh, do you
Yeah.
know what? How do I say this?
Yeah, I
without
think that
going
was
to
the
hell?
question I was going for. Yeah.
And say this and like still secure my tickets to the gates of heaven.
Yeah.
I have a
No,
whole
do you know
thing.
what? Well, sorry, like on your point, like I believe like if God created us, He'd understand. I think we all have a place because like He made us human and not perfect. Like,
Yeah.
well, Christian wise,
Yeah.
Jesus was perfect, and
Yeah.
He took all of our sin.
Yeah.
He died for all of us. So I
So
know
he
my
died
place
for
is
what
there.
I'm
My
about to
place
say
is
now?
there, bro. Like it's chilling. It's got my name written on it and stuff. Yeah, you say.
Yeah. I mean, like what Go said, it's we did believe in a higher power, right? We believed in a higher power, and we believed to get to that higher power, we have to go through spirit mediums who were our ancestors, who were people who came before us, which honestly makes some sort of sense because we go to God through Jesus. We ain't never met Jesus. We ain't never seen how we've read how Jesus lived his life.
Yeah.
We've never seen how Jesus lived his life. But before we were Christians or before we were colonized, our ancestors were people we actually know. You know, your grandfather died and he becomes your ancestor, and you can actually go through God through this person whose life you've seen, you know, like in
sort of matches what Jimmy was saying about the seeing as believing.
yes, the seeing is believing thing. So I could decide I don't want to go through God through Tete someone because I think she was a bitch, you know, because I've seen, like, I know her, right? Wait, I had a point just now. Oh, it's coming. What was your question? It was to do with the question.
Yeah.
The
As
credibility of
Christianity.
Christianity.
Credibility of Christ. So now we believed in God through the good that we saw. That was the whole basis of the tradition that we had before, through the good. If you knew someone to be a bad person, a murderer, for example, you're not about to go and like pray to that person to get you to God. Do you get what I mean? But now, when colonization came, they gave us this God who said, do not steal, do not kill, do not lie. They were preaching that to us, telling us not to do it,
But they were doing it.
but they were doing it.
Makes sense.
Do you think that a part of us also desiring some of the things they had, the lifestyles they had, it was easy? Do you think that shifted our opinion on?
I think so. Because they came and they posed to be better than us. So it was a thing of
whatever they have.
whatever
'Cause
they
like-
have, we
'cause
have.
like
And
in a
maybe
church,
the way
yeah.
to get it is through their God.
Yeah,
you
because
know?
like through it in a church, like everyone respects the pastor so much, but like, do you know if the pastor's cheating on his wife? No, you don't. Is he
But you know,
stealing
my
from you?
thing is with like the
Yeah.
way we then started believing in God and became Christians is you don't know what your pastor is doing.
Exactly. That's
But
my point.
We saw, well, the people that came before us, they saw what
Our
our pastors,
ancestors.
yeah, they saw what our ancestors
Yeah,
were doing.
yeah.
But then to then believe in God, they saw what their preachers were doing. So
Yeah.
this same person that's preaching to you, spreading the word, you are seeing them today, right? They're preaching to you that, you know, God is good, God is that, don't steal. Tomorrow they're stealing your farm. And you're
Yeah.
seeing it. It's not like, you know, your pastor who you don't know.
Yeah.
This you know.
Yeah.
Know. Like it's there. That's where I'm a bit like about
No, but the, I mean, it's kind of contradictory. Sorry, because like you are only judging the person when it comes to Christianity, the person who is bringing the message, right?
Mhm.
But you're not judging your spirit mediums or your ancestors who are also bringing the message to you, because you're saying like we knew our spirit mediums or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But they were also human, right? And you say humans aren't perfect, right?
Mm.
God didn't make us perfect.
Yeah.
Whoever God is, right? So it doesn't mean our spirit mediums were like 100%.
No,
are
wait, like
good,
we're actually
or they
putting them
didn't-
in the same bracket, saying how credible are ancestors to our pastors because they're the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
My
because
thing
you're
with the
only
spirit
you're
medium-
only judging the pastors, but you're not judging the spirit mediums.
My thing with the spirit mediums is that you are seeing. That's why I keep saying that you could see what the colonizers were doing. So my thing is you are going to God through your grandmother whose life you've seen. There's some things that she could have hidden from you and you don't know, right?
Mm.
She could have been whatever else, whatever bad thing, but you don't know this. So your thing of believing in her is because she's good. But we believed in other people. We believed in people who at the time were bad to us. We believed in their God. We believed in them essentially. Will I get in trouble for what I'm saying?
No.
I
Nah,
just
say it,
realized-
No.
Nah,
But
say
we
it.
believed in people who essentially were hypocrites or
Yeah.
liars. So like with your grandmother, it's not a lie. Okay, your ancestors, it's not a lie because you just don't know. Like she didn't come to you and say,
physically
do
like,
good,
oh,
and
that
then
makes
she
sense.
did
That makes
bad.
sense. Yeah.
But how we became Christians, we were told do good, but you know
But
what?
they're
I
not
actually
doing
think
good.
it was more for their benefit. It was one of those do good, be forgiving. What? Now we are
Remember what I
Christians.
was saying? Like literally, like mental slavery.
Yeah,
Instead of
'cause
guns,
now-
like they came
now
and
we're
said, "You're mad,
Christians.
you're brave."
Now
But the
we're
thing is-
Christians. You killed my
Yeah.
father, but you've said to me Christianity says you must forgive. So now because I'm a Christian, I'm going to forgive you. Like
Mm.
The thing is,
they
like,
did for him.
so that makes sense. Yeah, like that makes sense. Like in the sense of, I get what you're saying. But the thing though is like, it's like this. Like let's say, some person comes to you, today and is like, okay, dude, this, if you do, like, I'm sure we've all seen the ads, you know, on YouTube, of investment and all that stuff. Like they tell you like, do this thing and you make, you earn a living tops and it will be nice.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, right? But they don't tell you about the messed up stuff that goes behind, like that's behind the scenes when you're actually doing all that stuff. So that's when, for you to earn a living, like if they say do this investment, but they don't tell you that for you to earn a living in this investment stuff, you actually need to rob a bank, for example, whatever, for you to. But this person's good who's telling you all this, right? It's speaking to the investment stuff. That's the bad part. That the person's good, right? For example, quote unquote, the person's good, even though they didn't tell you which. I would say are they really good though. But like, you have to rob a bank for you to make money. The thing is though, like with God, for example, why I gave that example, you need to look at, I think it's so important to separate. I get the messenger, like how a messenger comes to you and presents a case. It influences. it influences how you're going. Like if Daryl comes to me and tells me about this amazing thing, that how he presents it and how he is and how he relates to that thing influences how I sort of receive it. But the thing with God is that he's enough within himself. So like the thing with like in the Bible, someone may say like, but I don't read the Bible, so I can't agree with that. But in the Bible, Jesus says no one can come to God through me except through me. So like I can't come to God just through Daryl, right? Daryl can tell me about God, sure, but at the end of the day, it's just me and God. So whether the pastor is cheating on his wife, the message about God, who God is, Jesus is, that's enough within themselves. So it just comes down to, okay, sure, Daryl did whatever, that pastor did whatever, but talk about me though. Like it's me and you though. Like what do you say on that? And you're like, God, okay. You're quite good though. So it comes down to that. That's what but again, I think it's still dealing with the fact that the messenger though, that's what people do. Like, but you can't tell me about God though when you're doing this. That's where the wrong is. I think
that like comes to like your parents, you know, like I don't know what your parents have done. I don't know what my parents have done. But I think you've seen one thing where you're like, you say this, but you've done this.
I feel.
But they want you to do better than they did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think it could be something like that. Because like they've done it, try it and test it. Like they say, there's nothing new under the sun. If you literally follow a formula, you'll make money. Like, yeah. So like another thing though, I have question, right? Was like the Bible was written by a man. Like, what if that's like just not?
Not exactly. So the person who held the pen, sure, was a man. I'd say this first of all, like a newspaper, for example. You read an article in a newspaper, you're like, yeah, this is solid. It's not even a newspaper. We read whatever lecture notes we get. And we're like, yeah, it tells you energy cannot be created or lost. It just changes form. And you're like, yeah, that's solid, but you don't even know who actually said that. But you believe in that, right? Not you believe, but you believe that, and you're like, okay, this is fine. But that same thing was typed out or written by a man. But the thing with the Bible, why I'm like, because most people when they say that, they're like, how can I trust that though? When I think for that one, like what I've come to learn is that like from the beginning to the end of the Bible, that's like thousands of years.
True.
So if I write something and person B writes something else, and the two of us are in the same space, same year, when they're on the same environment, it's harder to believe that that thing is true because we could have influenced each other. But if the person who writes chapter A is living in the time period of 1650, and the person who writes chapter E is living in 2130, and their messages are the same, and they've never talked to each other, that's more convincing because they're like, how? Because then it comes down to the fact that what I believe is that like the Bible itself is written by God through man. So that's the kind of thing. And like even on the science religion thing, it's another thing where it's like, I don't think they have to be separated. I think the other actually supports the one supports the other. To talk about God is saying like something had to be, this thing was created, something had to create it. Created that kind of thing. Like, but yeah, so when it comes to the Bible, like I'm always like, if we bring it down to other things, you also read this newspaper article and you believe that this is facts. That's the news, that kind of thing.
Okay, so
sorry guys, running out of a bit of time. Pumula, I think this question is directed to you. So if the Bible was written back then, what's the relevance of it to date?
So I think relevance, obviously, me talks to time, the issue of time. same thing. I would say this. I'm going to go back to the Bible, but like same thing. If the fact that for example, what example could I give?
I think, like, for example, if I drive a car into a wall, it's gonna crash.
It's and I hear about that.
Yeah, I
right?
don't have to actually.
And someone actually tells me like why that happened, why did the car etc. That information basically, and that happened like for example for I don't know who's watching, if this is sensitive to them, but like I don't know, like if that's about Princess Diana, for example, right? And we hear about all that information that happened like years ago.
Yeah.
Same thing now. Will I believe that a car can crash, or will I say, Jack, that happened like years ago? If I drive the car right now, the same way that happened, like fast 180 into the wall, I'll just be like the Flash and just vibrate through the wall and whatnot. The thing though, what's important to realize is that you need to look at the information in itself. Is it like, you need to look at the information itself and say, is it applicable to this time period right now? Someone will say, no, I can't listen to the fact of do not lie, because they didn't have many things to talk about. So right now I can't say I can't lie because, hey, dude, I went for this thing, and do I really need to tell someone about that? But it still applies though, because at the end of the day, it's a lie, or it's this action. I think it's still relevant. It's relevant because it goes beyond. It's not just for specific space and time. It affects each and every person, whatever time.
Okay, awesome. And last but not least, do you all know who Prophet Madungu is?
My nigga. Yeah.
Right now he's actually in heaven. I spoke to him on Twitter.
Yeah, he's dope.
The question is, how do you feel about? Oh, sorry. So you guys know what he's been saying. How would you feel about that if it were right?
Sorry, can I
right?
just give like a recent thing?
Yeah,
right?
like
So like
yeah,
for
the man.
example,
Yeah.
like right now, right? I don't know if you prayed yesterday. I don't know if you asked God for something like at the beginning of the week. But anyway, anytime from when the queen died
Mm-hmm.
and you asked God for something and you prayed to God for something,
Yeah.
it's going to take a bit of time for your prayers to be answered, because they're kind of dealing with like
That's what he's tuning.
what's going on in yes, but like some things like that.
So just for context for some of our viewers, what kind of stuff has he said recently? Is that what?
That's one of the stuff. That's what he said. Like literally.
Is there anything else he said other than that sparked controversy?
I came across a post on Instagram, again written by a man. I don't know if it's true. He said he died and went to heaven, had breakfast.
No, he didn't die.
He didn't die. He went to
He
sleep.
just went to heaven.
Then he went to heaven for a trip.
Yeah,
A holiday.
holiday.
And then he came back.
Yeah. And Jesus came to his house.
Jesus
before.
came to
like
his
the
house
first time
before
he came about.
And he was like,
Jesus
and he was
visited
like, no
him.
ways, you're not real.
He took selfies and stuff.
Yeah,
with Jesus.
some
And he fed God steak.
fake
At some
stuff.
point, God had steak in a lunchbox.
Wow.
He took like he packed lunch for God.
Okay, yeah. So like on your question, like how would I feel about that? Personally, I don't believe it. If I'm going to hell for that, that's
No, I don't.
yeah. But it's a little bit blasphemous. And I think but the Bible does say people will represent me through false information or will use my verses against you.
Mm-hmm.
So the Bible's already said it. And again, in that, we're all made in the image of God. So I feel he has a bigger plan for us. Like we're a project.
Oh, God or Madungu?
No, God. God, yeah. So like I feel like we're like a project, high school project, and he's watching, simulating and everything. Hence why my belief for anything you do, he does understand, and you will go to heaven. That's where that
on
came
the
from.
Madungu thing
Yeah.
though. I
Could you
think
sum it up in less than like 10
10
words? And let's just-
in 10 words.
She talks too much, doesn't she?
Wait, no. Can I have like 20 words?
No.
I think sometimes he makes sense, because if you're looking at it as a Christian, we know that God is like all knowing and all powerful. So we know that 16,000 of us can pray to him at the same time and he can still answer us. But if you're looking at it from a physical thing, it makes sense that there's a lot going on in England and he doesn't have time for us. Like if he was a physical being, that like the stuff that
It makes
we're
sense.
if it was if he was a physical
taking
being,
lunch
yeah.
for him makes sense because the man's gotta eat. It makes sense if you're looking at it from just like
And like in our culture, you strengthen the bond through food.
you see.
You guys, I forgot the tumo. It's called the tumo. Like
Do you know
One
what I
was-
mean?
yeah.
nah,
I don't know. I think
One
so.
was learning in primary.
yeah. I remember it. But yeah, okay. So yeah, to wrap up this episode, we're gonna give it to guys.
Oh no.
Jimmy, you have something to say?
Did you have anything you?
My summary. For me, the whole thing about I don't know if we actually answered whether we
Yeah.
created
Whether
God.
we created
Yeah,
God or not.
this
No, but we
topic,
don't keep it.
this discussion went astray for me, for my liking, I think, because it ended up talking about the Christian God. I was thinking we were going to talk about God as a higher power,
No,
supernatural.
so I think for us,
regardless of
when
the
we said
religion.
God, for me, I refer to like whether Buddhist, Christian, whatever. Personally, for me, it was Christian because I think like their Arabic God, Christian God, and Buddhist, they all have the same principality. If you think about it,
I would disagree, but
you disagree?
Yeah, so
Yeah, because I've come together with like a few religions and like what's the Arabic Bible called? Is it
The?
Arabic Bible?
Quran.
The Quran, yeah.
No, for
it's-
Muslims.
yeah,
Yeah, the Quran.
it's got the same thing, similar, just different names.
Alright, so to just quickly wrap it up, Jimmy, do you believe we were created or we created God?
for me at the moment, I don't have an opinion.
Alright, Sakani?
Yeah, also don't have an opinion.
I'm finding out right now.
Oh, I was created by God.
Alright. So thank you so much, you guys.